Today on Bridges, we're going to be talking about growing old gracefully. I'm Monica Schmelter, and I'm really glad that you could join us for Bridges today. When it comes to aging, my advice has always been, don't do it. But since that's not possible, we're going to talk about growing old gracefully. And Susan Neal is my guest today, and she's a registered nurse. She's done quite a bit of work in health and nutrition, and she's going to help walk us through some of the ways that we can grow old gracefully. So Susan, it's good to have you back on Bridges.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Monica.
And I know, Susan, you're a registered nurse, and you've done a lot of things in the fields of health and nutrition and so many things. And I know you've done a lot of work in the areas of like diet, brain health, exercise, and aging. And so is it possible, really, for a person to grow old gracefully?
Oh, absolutely. There's so much that we can do. You know, it's best to start first with your diet and have a good, healthy microbiome. That's your digestive tract. You know, we could simply take some probiotics or eat some sauerkraut to make sure that we have the good probiotics in our gut and just not the bad guys in there. And you start with that and you move on to exercise.
And so you talk about exercise, and as a person gets older, right, it's not going to be as easy as when you're in your 20s or 30s. So like, what kind of advice or tips do you have? How does a person do that in a way that's still healthy, say when they get in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and even on up there? What do you do?
So for me, in my 20s, I was in 2 car accidents. So since my mid-20s, I have not been able to lift over 20 pounds. So I've had to modify my life and my exercise program, but I can walk, okay? And you know, some people who can't even do that successfully, they can possibly get into a pool. You know, there's water aerobics. And then the other thing is you want to find an exercise that you love.
Sure.
So for me, I love swimming. So my dad used to take us to a spring-fed pond when I was a child, and all my brothers and sisters, we would go in there and we would use our ivory soap and, and we would go ahead and you know, we learned to swim when we were 4. Anyway, now I currently have a pool. I live in Florida. Would I rather go walk around the block, you know, my neighborhood and get all sweaty? Or would I rather dive into the crystal clear blue water that is cool? And I just love swimming.
Yeah. So it's about finding something that you really like and that fits the age and stages that you are, and do that. All right, so that's the exercise part. And diet, now, you know, sauerkraut, I happen to like sauerkraut, but what like are other things that people can do that help you maintain good health and brain health? Because you hear more and more like about dementia and other things, and are there things that diet can help us not go down that path?
Yes. So there are numerous things that we can do to improve our brain health and prevent dementia and Alzheimer's. And one of them relates to our diet. We want to have a low carbohydrate, low sugar diet is recommended for that. So when I talk about carbohydrates, God's carbohydrates are perfectly fine. Eat your baked potato, eat your sweet potato, eat your butternut squash. Those carbohydrates are wonderful. But don't eat out of boxes and bags of processed foods that they've stripped the nutritional value from it. So those are the carbs we want to stay away from.
That's hard.
You know, once you balance your microbiome and you've reintroduced the good probiotics, you actually begin to enjoy God's foods again. And I always say eat God's foods. So when you look at your plate, look down and say, okay, did this come off of a ranch or did this come out of a garden? And if it did, eat it. If it's been shredded and is put into a shape that in a foreign shape and you don't know where it came from or what it was,
Yeah.
don't eat it. So it can be as simple as that. I don't go into calories or anything. I just say eat God's foods.
Yeah. Because God put the food there to keep us healthy, to help our bodies heal themselves. But what's happened, just because of the way that we live, right, and foods are processed to help them, right, stay fresh longer, preservatives, all of those things, really what you're saying is they're not really contributing to our health.
Right.
And we think that they're good, right, and we've conditioned our taste buds to think that they're good. And you're saying if we uncondition ourselves to that we'll develop taste buds that like what God put.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And you put this all into a book.
Yes, I did.
Because we're not going to be able to remember all of this.
Right.
And what led you kind of to write the book?
Because I'm aging myself.
Well, we all are, right? We all are. Every last one of us, we're all aging.
Right. And so I want people say I look 10 years younger. And so I want people to know the things that I do that are natural things that I do to help preserve my body. Because when my body is functioning well, when I wake up in the morning with energy and motivation, then that's when I can serve God to the best of my ability.
Right, right. Now, one of the things people talk about in aging is that there's joint pain, right? Stiffness, all the things that we don't want. Does diet contribute to that?
Oh, absolutely. If you get rid of the sugar, a lot of your joint pain goes away. If you get rid of the wheat, a lot of the joint pain goes away. Yes, I've had a friend who has rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
And I finally talked to her. Her knees would hurt her so bad. And so I finally talked her into going gluten-free. Guess what? She has no more knee pain.
Really? It was as easy as that.
Yes, it was.
I mean, because the medicines are really hard on a person's body. They're also quite expensive.
Yes, they are.
And there are lots of side effects to all of those medicines. And I guess when I hear you say that, it wouldn't hurt to try.
No, it wouldn't.
How long does it take? Like if a person just thought, okay, I've got RA and I'm hurting really, really badly, how long would it take if they just tried to get off sugar or go gluten-free? How long would it take to just experiment and see if they could get better?
I tell people to try it for a month.
A month.
So, start at the beginning of the month and then at the end of the month, see how they feel. 1 month. But they might find effects in 2 weeks. In fact, if my friend eats one item that is gluten the next day, her knees hurt.
I had no idea. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else do you have to teach us today? I'm finding this very interesting.
Okay, let's go back to brain health.
Yeah.
Because with brain health, there's so many people who seem to have dementia and Alzheimer's now, where there's lots of contributing factors. For example, heavy metals. We have amalgams for our fillings. So it's good to have those removed, but removed by a dentist who's going to make sure that it's not reabsorbed into your body as they're being removed. We used to pump unleaded gas. We had paint that had lead, so we can check to see if we have any type of heavy metals in our system. And if we do, a very natural way to remove them from our body is through getting in an infrared sauna. So infrared saunas use a specific type of light and heat, and sweating is a detoxification method that God gave us.
I have never heard this in my whole entire life.
Yes. So, many times you can find a health club that would have
Absolutely.
it, or a YMCA. You can investigate and go weekly to an infrared sauna.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you that. So does it take a while to get the metals out, or do you just go one time and it's done? Or
I had a girlfriend who had breast cancer, and she had high levels of several different metals. She did an infrared sauna for 1 year, twice a week, and all of them were below normal limits. They had been removed from her body twice a week for 1 year.
Wow.
So it takes a while. You know, it's not just a one-time sweating.
Well, because we've done all that stuff over years, and when you talk about pumping unleaded gas, right?
Leaded gas. We used to have
Leaded
the leaded gas. Now it's unleaded, but we grew up and it was leaded gas.
Yeah, of course. I mean, everybody did that because that was the
Right.
option.
Yes,
Right?
that's
What
right.
you did. Okay. So I guess I never thought about that. Now, what about the dentist thing? I don't understand that.
So you're removing your amalgam, which is mercury. That's mercury. And mercury is also emitted from power plants that burn coal. So it could be in the air. If there's a waterway close by, it could be in the fish, the mercury. That's a heavy metal. So if you're removing your amalgam, you want to make sure that the dentist has been trained to make sure that you're not going to be having any of that mercury go back into your system.
Okay.
And down your throat, you know, onto the gum. It needs to be removed. So sometimes there's specialized
So then the
dentists for
dentist
that.
takes it out and like puts in a new filling?
Yes, and so I've had all my amalgams removed, and I have all the white fillings now. So
Okay.
I've had all the metal removed from my mouth because that's a contributing factor.
To dementia.
Yes, because it's right in our mouth,
I never
and that's
thought
very
of that.
close to our brain.
That's frightening.
So then there's you know, there's different types of toxins, but the other thing in reference to brain health, you know, I've talked about the diet, but there's also the APOE4 gene. There's a gene, and I have one of those genes, and so that gives me a 30% chance higher of getting dementia. If you have two of those genes, you have like a 60% chance. So it's even more important for me
I see.
to, you know, go into an infrared sauna to try and remove the toxins and also to remove the amalgam. So then my gene is not activated.
I see.
And my daughter is a genetic counselor, and what is so interesting is that we used to think that with our genes, oh, if we had a cancer gene, we're going to get cancer. No. The genes can turn on and off. You know how some people go into remission with cancer? The genes can turn on and off. So I'm going to make sure that I'm not smoking, I have a healthy diet, you know, I'm doing all the things I need to do to make sure my dementia gene is not turned on.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And you've got all of that in your book.
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
And what's the title of the book?
12 Ways to Age Gracefully.
12 Ways to Age Gracefully. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming today. You have taught me a lot. You've shared many things that I have not heard before.
Oh, thank you so much for having me,
Thank you so
Monica.
much for coming. Sorry that we're out of time, but you have really taught me a lot. When I come back, we're going to talk about how